How can you tell a story in a single illustration? To use color and light to evoke emotion in the viewer? Well, my friends, after many years of drawing and studying and practicing, I have learned that it's hard! Sorry, you want me to convey mood or atmosphere with color, all while balancing the composition and value structure to be readable and clear? That's too much for my brain to think about at once, and I have to do it multiple times? Luckily, it looks like there's a class called Color and Light just around the corner, and maybe it will help solve at least some of my problems. Color and Light is a 7-week course focused on, you're not gonna believe this, color and light, for background painting, visual development, and illustration taught by visdev artist Tsai. You might have seen her work in Spider-Verse 2, Steven Universe, and Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts. The class starts with the fundamentals of color and light and then moves into using color to tell a story. Disclaimer, this is not going to be a summary of the contents of the course, this is just a reflection of my experiences learning and growing in the class. Why did I decide to take the class at the time I did? Before I took the class, I felt that something was missing from my coloring, but I couldn't tell what. Plus, I hadn't taken a live art class or received art critique in 4 years, and if I was serious about doing art for a living, it seemed like a good time to step up my portfolio with graduation on the horizon. The first 3 weeks of the course focused on building a foundation, starting with value. While doing the homework, I could feel my brain physically expanding, because it hurt my head to think about values. All the value studies I'd done before were only 3 values, and now I had to use 4? And I had to use different combinations of light to dark ratios and contrast? I used Jen Ravenna Tran's photo pack for this assignment because I liked the composition of the photos, so I thought they would be good to study from. After doing this assignment, I realized that basically all of my works up until this point used the same value and contrast combination, high contrast with a wide range of values. I had always been told that more contrast was better, and it blew my mind to see that you could use less contrast on purpose. I thought to myself, if I could become comfortable with all these other structures, then I could do so much more with my art. But I wasn't satisfied with my first value study grid, so I did another for practice. For week 2's homework, I tried to emulate some of the techniques that Kat used in my piece. To be honest, this was not my finest work. I kind of misinterpreted my reference image and thought the shadow was cool instead of warm. I also slapped on too many adjustment layers and the light ended up becoming kind of hazy. But that's okay, because in week 3, I repainted it and then made 3 lighting variations with the same base image, for a total of 4 images. Sorry, did I say 4? I meant 8. I was really excited for this week's homework since doing the lighting is my favorite part of painting, and also because I had seen other people's assignments on Twitter before. I ended up doing double the homework to push myself to use a wide variety of lighting scenarios, so that I could use the feedback I got on them for future reference. I tried to use colors and lighting schemes that I don't normally use to change the value structure from piece to piece. Overall, I just had a lot of fun going through my lighting reference Pinterest board and imagining my apartment in different colors. The next 3 weeks were focused on using color with narrative. I wanted to try to make something like this illustration by Kat with a clear focal point and extra wide canvas. I decided to do an illustration with my OCs because I hadn't drawn them in a while. For this piece, I focused on color contrast and value contrast to bring the viewer's eye to my characters. I think I was able to establish a focal point in my initial painting, but the feeling of light and shadow wasn't as strong as it could have been. After repainting the piece with Kat's feedback, I felt like my characters were more grounded in the environment since they were interacting with the light and shadow more. And it helped sharpen the focal point even more by having the shadow shapes around them lead the viewer's eye to the characters. Working on this piece really opened my eyes to using value, color, and especially light all together to create compelling compositions. Previously, I relied on positioning and value to create compositions, but now I had gained another tool to tell a story in a single illustration. For week 5, I decided to practice stylized color with a fan art illustration for the Great Ace Attorney. I had this sketch sitting around for a couple of months and thought now would be a great time to color and paint it in. Also because having the composition ready to go would give me more time to focus on the colors, which I felt like was the point of this week. I knew I wanted to make the red accessories these characters had pop out, so I decided to use a cool color for the light to create contrast. I also generally wanted to keep the interior warm and exterior cool. Unfortunately, maybe it gave me too much time to think about color because I definitely got lost in the rendering sauce while painting. I think my initial thumbnail was actually pretty clear and readable in terms of values and colors, but I lost it along the way. More than how to create color palettes that don't exist in real life, my biggest takeaway from this week was to prioritize the overall clarity of the image first, to keep it simple. After repainting my work with Kat's feedback, I felt like the final piece looked a lot closer to my thumbnail than my initial submission did. Anyways, it's been 10 years since the initial release of the Great Ace Attorney, so Capcom, if you're watching this, please give us Great Ace Attorney Investigation. For my last homework, I made a color script based on my personal project Under the Auspices. It's a story about magical girls in Victorian England solving a cold case. I was definitely testing God this week because I had midterms due, and doing my own compositions and colors from scratch was a lot more work than I expected. Still, I was determined to do a 10-frame color script. Like week 3, I tried to hit a variety of lighting scenarios, ones I was familiar with, color combinations I hadn't used often, and stylized color palettes that I'd never tried in my life. By far, I had the most fun with the stylized color frames, and it's something I'd like to try more in the future. The script wasn't as polished as I wanted it to be because of midterms, but that's just how it is sometimes. Afterwards, I went back and painted in some additional details in each frame just to help it feel a little more fleshed out. This definitely felt like a get out what you put in kind of class. As much as I could, I put in maximum effort into my assignments, doing full illustrations for the open-ended assignments, and doing the homework twice for structured assignments. Going hard for 6 weeks straight did also lead straight to burnout. I wanted to do my best in the class and learn as much as possible, of course, but I didn't really know how to pace myself while doing the assignments. I also still felt kind of funky about my art, even after the class for the rest of 2023, since I took in so much new information without really having time to process it. It was like I got so many new tools to play with, but I was trying to figure out how to use them well. Maybe my art looked normal to other people? I don't know. But I was definitely feeling kind of weird about my art for most of the year. But still, I'm really glad that I was able to take the class, and I would absolutely recommend it to anyone looking to level up their color and light game. For a long time, I was told that color was one of the hardest parts of painting, that I wasn't ready for colors, and that I should go do 10 reps of shapes and values first. After taking color and light, I can confidently say, color is hard, but that's all it is. Color is a skill, and skills can be learned. So if there's anything you've been itching to start or get better at, I say to go for it. Doesn't have to be art related, but if you're anything like me and start thinking, oh, I'll learn it when I'm ready. I hate to say it, but there's not going to be a time where you ever feel ready. If you were ready, you wouldn't need the class. Anyways, that was a little look back on taking my first live art class with Color and Light by Tsai. I have to go prep for Katsucon now. Bye!